Good afternoon. Great to be here. I am Laurie Andrews with the Community Foundation, and I want to start from a quote from a very wise man in this room, and it's Mike Wardell. And Mike Wardell and I were working on the 25th anniversary of the Land Trust when he said very wisely that we are all drawn to this place, to this landscape because of the beauty, but it is the people, the community that keeps us here. So today I'm going to talk about our community, a quick snapshot of what I see is happening in our community, about some things that are giving me hope, and some opportunities for us to think about how we can do things differently. So when looking at community, I'm quite struck by coming after the state of the economy and the health of our economy, because they're talking about how do we measure this, and I came up against that when I said, how am I going to say we're doing well or we're not doing well? So I decided to do my own poll of friends. And I was getting out friends and family and colleagues and said, how do you think, the community, what is the health of the community here in the Teton region? I got some interesting stories. I got to hear about how at a farmer's market, one of the vendors there got cursed out because she had no more tomatoes. I got to hear about people almost coming fisticuffs at trailheads because people didn't like how people were using the trails. I find myself shaking when the words that were resonating with my friends and family and my community members were edgy, curmudgeonly, and that as a community, we're not in a great place. So this made me think, we need to do a report card. So, when you go to school and the report card and they tell you the subjects. So these are subjects. You've heard about, you might add to this, you might subtract some of these things. But if you look up on this list, subjects, let me see, all the things we're hearing about today. Transportation, housing, mental and behavioral health, childcare. These are the subjects that as a community we are addressing or needing to address. So now I want to touch on one of these topics around behavioral health, because this is something that is giving me hope. And it is also something that I heard in the report out that we can do this in a different way. I took on the role at the Community Foundation on March 1st of 2020. It's a very interesting time to take on a new role, but jumping in as this whole community did to be there for each other, one of the topics that kept coming up was behavioral health. If you think of behavioral health, it is mental health and substance use together under one umbrella. So a private foundation came to me and said, we want to fund some of your behavioral health initiatives in Teton County. I said, great. And they said, I want to see your map. I want to see the ecosystem of how someone gets behavioral health services in your community. And I said, well, I'm new to this, but I know maps. I come from the Land Trust, I can do maps. So I went to the partners that work in behavioral health and mental health and substance use. And I said, hey, I need the map so that I can go get us some funding. And they said, oh, no, we don't have a map. We haven't been comfortable with a map of our behavioral health system. So what do I mean when I say map? What I'm talking about is what happens, how do you get services for early childhood, for adolescence, for an adult, or for a senior when they're in different times in their life when they are needing to get some services around behavioral health. So the partners in this community came together. We know that mental health and substance use are the highest health issues in our community, but we didn't know how to go any deeper. We didn't know what that meant. We didn't know how that really translated in our community. So 23 partners came together, and some of those people are in this room. Jody's in the room, Anna was in the room, Susan has now been part of that steering committee. The Mountain Resort was part of that steering committee. We had different people, we had public, private, and nonprofit sector in that room. And we came together, we did a survey, we got the information and created a report that was put out in November of 2021. It had recommendations, it had findings. I want to share some of those findings with you because I think you will find we need to know this, but it's sobering, I'll be very honest. So in our community, in 2018, people self-reported that they had 4 poor mental health days out of a month, 4. In 2021, they had 6.8. So a whole week out of a month, our community is reporting that they're having poor mental health days. We also asked our community, how many people are feeling lonely and isolated? 50% of our community self-identified as feeling isolated and lonely versus the national average is 24%. 46% of our community, almost half of our community, is considering leaving today, right now, moving from here right now. And the work stress, the stress of work and family have 40% of our community speaking to substance use by themselves or a loved one as having a negative impact on their life. This is an issue that became nationally really recognized, and we shined a light on this during the pandemic. That is good news. We needed to know that everyone is at some level struggling with behavioral health. But how, as a community, are we going to deal with this? And we came at it in a different way. We came at it through a partnership. We came at it that we're going to do this together, public, private, nonprofit in the room. And we are doing that right now. We have stepped forward with the recommendations, and we are actually moving the needle in a different way. And there are people that have been working on this topic for years, and they're amazing. And we need the whole community. So when I look at these topics, we need to look differently at these topics. But I also want to talk about, so when you were in school, you also got conduct. Now this one is a little harder. How do you say if someone's had good conduct or bad conduct? How do we say in our ethos of our community, how are we doing on conduct? So I think it's time for us to think about how are we going to turn toward each other as a community and say enough. We are a place that is there for each other, that we're neighbors, and that we don't want to be known for edgy. We want to be known for cross-cutting and amazing. So here are some ideas for what we can do. Number 1, the whole world, us included, have been in reactive mode versus responsive. We want to make sure we have time to be imaginative, to have long-term vision, to take time for consensus and have agreements, to be civil with each other when we're having tough topics. We don't always have to agree. We're not going to agree. I don't agree with my family on where we're going to go to dinner, so I don't expect us all to agree, but that's okay. That's why we're so great in Jackson, because of our passion. Do good things. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but think about it. Make your own list. What are do good things? Don't post something negative on social media. Don't do a snarfy comment about something didn't go down the way you wanted. Why don't you think about do the good things? So many in this room do good things, and I am grateful for that. And last but not least, community agreements. We need to really think about how to think differently about different things. You know, bollards on the street for pathways, dog parks. There are topics that just light us up as a community. And I think we need to think outside the box. And we need to be open that maybe, just maybe, it's not going to be exactly the way I want, but I'm going to understand why it comes down as a community. So thank you for having me today. Great to see all of you. Amazed. You're all hanging in here after lunch, so thank you for all you do, and thank you, Jonathan.